Hey guys, it's Olivia and I'm back with another video. This is my last video of 2021. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe it. Sorry for my voice. I've been kind of losing my voice over the past couple of days, but I think you guys can still hear me well enough. So today, I want to talk about The Umbrella Academy. So it's a Netflix show. It's based off a comic book series, which I have not read, but I have watched the first 2 seasons on Netflix. And I'm not really gonna delve into the plot of the show just yet. That's a whole other thing for a whole other video. The only thing I want to talk about in this video is how these characters even found out they had powers. Because to me, some stuff just aren't adding up. So just to give a basic premise of the show, there are multiple women across the world who found out they were pregnant and gave birth on the same day. So it's like at 12 o'clock, you weren't pregnant. At 1 o'clock, you were. And then by 1:05, you had given birth to a baby, right? So anyways, there's this man named Mr. Hargreeves who finds out about all of these mystery babies. And he's flying all around the world because he wants to adopt them. So of the, let's say, 100 or so babies that were born, he ends up adopting 7 of them. And those 7 are the kids who end up becoming the Umbrella Academy. So each of these 7 kids that Mr. Hargreeves adopts have superpowers. And so this is where my first question comes into play. How did he know? Like, how did he know that there was going to be something up with these children that were like born the day they were conceived? Like, if I find out today, oh, there's a woman who just found out she was pregnant and then gave birth, I'm not gonna think, yep, that's a super baby. Super bad. I know what I know. So I'm gonna fly around the world to collect all the super babies. Like, how did he know? Like, yes, obviously it's a very strange situation, but how would you know for a fact that there was going to be something super about these particular kids? Like, I don't understand how he even knew to think that there was going to be something different about these kids. So that's the first thing. Then moving on to how they found out what their powers were, because each one of them has a different power than the next, right? So it's not like, oh, I have super strength, so you do as well. Like, no, they each individually had to go through the process of figuring out what their power was. And through flashbacks, we learned that they all figured out what their powers were when they were like 4, right? So their adoptive father was basically training them to be this superhero team, and he was helping them figure out what their powers were. It doesn't specifically show in the show, like, this is the incident that happened and this is how I found out I had super strength. No, but for certain powers, I could come up with a scenario where they could have found out they had this specific power. But for other ones, I'm like, how did you even figure out that you could do that? So let's start with number 1. Like, he's literally named number 1, but he also goes by Luther. So the reason I kept using the example of super strength is because that is the power that he has. So once again, the show doesn't say how he found out he had super strength, but if I were to make an educated guess, like, you're a little kid, maybe you're throwing a temper tantrum, and maybe, you know how like little kids like kick and scream and stuff when they're having a temper tantrum? Maybe he was kicking and screaming on the floor, and maybe he broke some floorboards or something. So then his father is like, okay, I guess you have super strength. Like, I feel like people get mad, people might throw things, punch things, whatever. So I feel like that is a superpower that if someone had that power, they would have eventually figured it out when they got mad enough, right? Moving on to number 2, Diego. He can curve objects. So basically, if he throws a knife at you, it'll curve and hit ya. I don't know exactly how to explain it. The point is, if he throws something at you, he's not gonna miss, right? Once again, I can understand how he might have figured that out. Once again, when you're a little kid, you're throwing a temper tantrum, you're throwing stuff. So maybe he was just throwing stuff and never missing the target. Like, he wasn't just throwing things all willy-nilly. He wanted to hit you, and he threw something at you, and he hit you. So yeah, that's probably how he figured that out at such a young age. Now, moving on to number 3, Allison. And this is the first one that just, nope, makes no sense. So Allison can rumor you to do anything. So if she says, I heard a rumor, you punched yourself in the face, then you have to punch yourself in the face. Like, she literally says that in the show.
I heard a rumor. You punched yourself in the face.
So if her and her crime fighting family are facing off with 2 criminals, she could say to them, I heard a rumor that you 2 were fighting each other. So now those 2 criminals are going to fight each other and not her and her family because she mind controlled them to do it. But she can't just say, fight each other, punch yourself in the face, do 10 jumping jacks. She can't say that. She has to specifically say, I heard a rumor, and then whatever she wants you to do. She has to say those exact words in that exact order, followed by a command in order for her power to work. How did she figure that out? Or how did her father help her figure it out? Like, what are the odds you're like 3 or 4 years old and you specifically said the sentence, I heard a rumor that, like, what? No, that's too specific. If she says, somebody told me that you 2 don't like each other. Like, no, those people aren't just going to start disliking each other. No, she has to say the specific words. I heard a rumor. So if she doesn't say those 4 specific words in that order, her power doesn't work. How did you find out that those were the 4 specific words you had to say? Like, let's say I had mind control powers, right? But in order for my mind control powers to work, I had to say shugala boogala. Like, shugala boogala, punch yourself in the face. How would I ever figure that out? Like, how would I ever find out that that works? When would I ever say shugala boogala? You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I have the power to make you do whatever I want if I say the magic words first, but how was I gonna find out what the magic words were? Like, how? How did she know? I have to say these specific words. Like, of all the words in the English language, those were the 4 she had to say. And like a 3-year-old thinks, does a 3-year-old even know the word rumor? Like, what? Like, how? Think about it. How old are you right now? I'm 22. How many times have I ever said I heard a rumor? Like, less than 10. And each time I said it, I was probably like 13 and I was like the 7th grade and I was talking to my girlfriends and I was like, girl, I had a rumor that you and Brad were a thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, like, rumors are like a gossip thing. And since when are 3 and 4-year-olds out here gossiping? Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's like, maybe she would have eventually figured out that power when she was like in her like preteens. But how on earth did her father get her to say the words, I heard a rumor at 3? Like, come on now. Come on now. There is no way she would have figured out that power, at least not that early on in life, because that sentence is way too specific. Like, she is physically incapable of controlling your mind unless she says those exact words in that exact order. No, there's no way. There's no way she would have figured that out. Moving on to number 4. Klaus. His superpower is that he can communicate with the dead. And that one I feel like is easy enough to figure out. Like, I don't know, maybe he was a kid and he went to someone's funeral. And like, you know, like when you're at the graveside when they're like burying the people, like maybe he was just looking around the graveyard and he was just seeing a bunch of ghosts the whole time. I don't know. Or maybe the house that he grew up in is haunted and he just was seeing ghosts walk around. I don't know. The point is, I feel like that one is easy enough to figure out because he doesn't have to actively try to see ghosts. They just show up. So, yeah. So, number 5, and he doesn't have another name. He's just 5. He has the ability to teleport through space and time. So, he could teleport from here to here, or he could also teleport to 5 minutes ago or to 5 minutes from now. Once again, I guess I understand how he could have figured that out. Once again, when you're a little kid and maybe you're throwing a tantrum and you're just like, I don't want to be here, right? Then maybe he ended up like teleporting from like the living room up to his bedroom or something. Like, I don't know. So that one, I guess there's an explanation for how he figured out that superpower. Moving on to number 6, Ben. Listen here. This is the next one that does not make any sense to me. So Ben's superpower is that he can grow tentacles from his body and just like use them to destroy stuff. Like, think Doc Ock, but instead of mechanical arms, like they're literal like octopus tentacles, like literally just as big, but not mechanical, like literal living ones. They just grow from his body and then he just uses them to attack people. How did you figure that out? The way powers work is you have to like think to use it, right? For example, let's go back to number 1. He has super strength. That doesn't mean that he's destroying everything in his path at all times. Like, if he's going to give someone a hug, he's not going to literally squeeze the life out of them because he's capable of being gentle. It's just when he needs to be super strong, he is. So, for example, I could just like punch someone on the shoulder like that, right? Like, I'm just like a friendly little punch, right? Like, I'm not going to break your shoulder. Or I could straight up punch you. Like, I can control how much force I use, right? So I have to think, I want to punch you softly or I want to punch you hard, right? Like, you control how much power you're using, right? So when it comes to his tentacles, how did he think, okay, I want tentacles to come out of me right now? Like, the first time he ever did it, why was that his thought? Like, after he figures out the power, yeah, he's like, okay, I'm just going to beat everybody up, like, tentacles, go. You know what I'm saying? But the first time, what would make anyone think, yeah, I think my superpower is tentacles? Like, yeah, I just have a feeling. I just have a feeling that I can just, like, shoot tentacles out of my body and, like, just kill people. Like, who has ever thought? Like, I feel like everyone, if you were trying to figure out what your power was, like, you think of the main ones. You think of flying, you think of teleporting, you think of super strength, you think of invisibility. Like, those are like the typical powers that have been written about over and over and over again. So if we all discovered, guess what, everyone has a secret power, try and figure out what yours is, your first thought would not be tentacles. It wouldn't. Your 17th thought would not be tentacles. Your 1486th thought would not be tentacles. Like, what made you think to emit tentacles from your body? How did you figure out you could do that? Tell me. Tell me. Okay. There's no way he could have figured that out. Like, number 3, Allison, she could have eventually said the words, I heard a rumor, when she started going to school and gossiping with her friends, blah, blah, blah. Allison would have eventually stumbled upon those words. I find it very unrealistic she figured that out at like 3 years old, but I feel like eventually she would have said those words in her lifetime. No one would eventually think that tentacles come from their body. I can summon tentacles. Like, yeah, that's my superpower. Who? I'll wait. Tell me who. I'm waiting. Tell me who. Exactly. No, I'm so angry. Are you kidding me? Who would have figured that out? No. No. And then finally, moving on to number 7 is Vanya. And she can basically turn sounds into a physical force. You know how, like, when people are making a toast, how they take a glass and they, like, take a fork and they, like, hit it against the glass? Yeah. So she can take that sound and, like, basically create a sonic boom and, like, now you dead, right? So that one is actually shown. I don't remember if this is in season 1 or season 2, but there's a flashback to Mr. Hargreeves hitting a tuning fork and trying to get Vanya to control the sound that is coming off of the tuning fork. So that's after he figured out what her power was and he was trying to help her control it. But before that, she also could have figured it out because there are lots of loud sounds in general. Like she can hear the sound of a car honking and she can turn that sound into something destructive. So the point is, growing up, she has heard sounds before. So then I feel like that could have eventually been figured out. Oh, whenever there's a loud sound, Vanya makes things explode. Oh, I guess that's her superpower, right? So for her, I kind of understand a scenario where she could have figured out what her superpower was. But for Allison and Ben, it doesn't make any sense. There's no way that Allison could have figured out at such a young age that she had to say those 4 specific words. And there's no way that Ben could have figured out, hey, tentacles come from my body. No. Like, I can summon tentacles. Like, tentacles form. Like, what? No. So yeah, anyways, that's just what I was thinking. Like, I've watched the Umbrella Academy. I really enjoyed it. I watched it, I feel like a year or so ago at this point, so I don't remember all the details. But if you want me to continue talking about Umbrella Academy, let me know. I'll rewatch it to refresh my memory because I feel like I have a lot to say about it. But I feel like them figuring out their powers had to be its own video in and of itself because some of them just aren't adding up. So that's all for this week's video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you think your friends will enjoy it, be sure to share it with them. All my social media links will be down below in case you want to follow me on there. Be sure to subscribe to my channel because I make new videos every Monday. And be sure to check out one of these suggested videos. And I'll see you next Monday with a new video.